Hello and welcome. In this screencast, we're going to be looking at developing code using flowcharts. In the previous lesson, we looked at pseudocode. So we're going to start this lesson by having a look at the homework task that I set you in the previous lesson. And the homework task was to develop pseudocode and create a series of Python programs based on that pseudocode, and we're looking at simple shapes, the rectangle, square, triangle, etc. So let's get straight into that. So the first question is asking us for the dimensions of a triangle. So we're going to have a length of 5, we're going to have a height of 7, and the area of the triangle is 17.5. And we're looking at the dimensions for a circle, so I'm going to put 6, and we have the answer there, 113 point. And the dimensions of a rectangle for the perimeter, length is 6, breadth is 5, and the perimeter is 22. And we're looking at our error message for the square, and I'm going to put -5 in, and it's saying that you've entered an incorrect number. So have a look at the code on the left, make sure you understand it, and that is the review of the homework task that I set you in the previous lesson. We're looking at developing code using flowcharts, so welcome to you all. So we've reviewed the homework task from the previous lesson. So in groups of 3 or 2 or 1, depending on how many people are looking at the screencast, can you state and explain 3 examples of inputs, 3 examples of processes, and 3 examples of output? Outputs, you have about 5 minutes, so take your time, pause the video, and see if you can come up with an answer to that activity. Having a look at our learning outcomes, so we're looking at using flowcharts, so we demonstrate an understanding of the purpose of a given algorithm and how an algorithm works, demonstrate an understanding of how to determine the correct output of an algorithm for a given set of data. So just to recap of the flowcharts that we began, I think it might have been in a previous slide anyway. So we had a look at the symbols, we had a look at the start and stop symbol, the action shape, the decision shape, and the input and output shape. So there are symbols. Make sure that you're familiar with them. You need to commit those to memory and learn how to draw them. So the first task, can you change this flow diagram to include the decision? Can you describe your change flowchart? So have a look at that. And the answer will be coming up shortly. So as you can see, we've got our decision symbol in there. So it's saying if the time is greater than 9 and less than 3, we proceed to less than 1. If the answer is no, we go back to the start. So that's the first one. Having a look at the second one, which is, can you change this flow diagram to include an input? Can you describe your change flowchart? So have a look at that and see if you can incorporate an input symbol into your change flowchart. The answer is coming up shortly. Okay, so having a look at the change flowchart, what we did was we received time from the keyboard or wherever, and then we ask, is the time greater than 9 and less than 3? If the answer is yes, we remain at school. If the answer is no, then we go home. Okay, so moving on to the next one, and we're looking at our keywords. Can you explain the keywords? Keywords are selection, sequence, iteration, algorithm, pseudocode, and high-level language. The advantages of flowcharts we're going to look at next. And the advantages are very visual, they're easy to follow and understand, and the symbols, so the oval symbol for start and stop, the parallelogram for input or output, the rectangle for action, they're universally recognized. So those are the advantages. Disadvantages are they're time consuming to alter, and you need software to create the charts. And the question at the end there is, can you write pseudocode for your change flowcharts? Have a look at that. And moving on to our summary now. So in this lesson we looked at flowcharts, pseudocode, and algorithms, and we looked at the interrelationships of the above. And our homework task is to write a one-page explaining with diagrams where appropriate, algorithm, flow diagram, and pseudocode. So that is the end of this brief screencast. So we looked at flow diagrams in this screencast. We looked at the various symbols that we use, the oval symbol, the diamond symbol, parallelogram, etc. We looked at altering our flowchart to incorporate a decision symbol, and altering our flowchart to incorporate an input symbol. And we ended the lesson by asking you to write a one-page summary explaining what you've picked up during the lesson. So thank you for tuning into this screencast, and I hope to see you again at the beginning of the next screencast.